Welcome to the Bold Money Revolution podcast. This is your source for straight talking, no fluff, business and high performance conversations that add real depth and value to the way bold leaders live, work, and thrive. I'm your host, Tara Newman. I'm here to show you how to optimize your performance as a leader so that you can grow a business that is profit-rich, efficient, and allows you to generate real, tangible wealth for yourself and others. We are here to help you lead with your values, to perform without overwhelm and burnout, and to do your most important work in the world. The toughest part of setting a revenue goal is knowing where to start. It's normal to be confused about this goal. After all, how many of us actually got a finance degree at the same time as starting a business? Probably none of us, like a big goose egg. And if you weren't taught how to do something, and then you combine that with the internet marketing world telling you what you should want for your business, well, it can start to feel like a game of Monopoly. Instead of having a revenue goal, you operate on luck, a roll of the dice, and simply hope you bring in enough, which would explain why 83% of small business owners are living paycheck to paycheck. It would also explain why business owners feel like they are working way too hard for what they actually take home. This free calculator is simple and easy to use. Here's what Alexis had to say about it. It was helpful to compare my current reality and needs with my dream needs and to see concrete numbers laid out in front of me. Seeing the numbers in front of me made my goal seem more attainable and not so overwhelming. I want you to head on over to theboldleadershiprevolution.com/revenue and grab your revenue calculator today. Hey there, bold leaders. Welcome to the Bold Money Revolution podcast. And I am your host, Tara Newman. And at the time of recording this, it is September 1st, and I honestly have not been behind this microphone recording an episode in quite some time. If you are a regular to the show, you know we are big time batchers over here when it comes to our content, because that's really what allows us to have a lot of space, personal freedom, and flexibility in our schedules, which is the whole point of why I created this business. So I'm good and hyped up to be creating our newest batch of content where we are going to be focusing on the importance of money goals, knowing your numbers, and sharing with you some solutions to common concerns like hating to budget and talking to your partner about business finances and some of the other mistakes that I see women business owners making. And when I say mistakes, I don't want everybody to freak out. I'm not here to point out these mistakes in a way that shames you. As a matter of fact, I think that setting expectations is a huge part of my job. And the expectation that you will never make a mistake is false. Business owners, human beings, we make mistakes. If we can just have the expectation that we're going to make mistakes and we'll figure it out and we'll make it right and it'll be okay, that is a much more generous expectation than putting ourselves in a twist over being perfect and never making a mistake. As a matter of fact, I was just talking to a client of mine, and we were working on his best fit client avatar. We've been doing this for a while now, and there was an incident that came up with a client where they were kind of like had their knickers in a twist about what they thought was a mistake. And we were really talking this through because do we want clients that get their knickers in a twist every time a mistake is made or when a mistake is made? Or do we want clients who make the generous assumption that, hey, you're human, mistakes happen, it's okay. Like, how do we move forward, right? Those are really the people that we want to be working with because that's what creates a business that has more ease. And we're all looking for businesses that have more ease and grace. We're human. You know, we're not perfect. We are here to do the best job that we can do. I haven't met a single client or business owner who set out with the intention to be a jerk and to make mistakes and to screw things up for their clients and customers. Like, I just haven't met that person. You are not that person, right? I trust that you are not that person, and that when you make a mistake, whether it's with a client, whether it's with yourself, whatever, that you genuinely care and you're like, I'm just going to figure this out and I'm going to make it right. So I really wanted to really preface when I say mistakes, that's the energy in which I'm coming from with these mistakes. I'm pointing them out to you. I want you to think about them. I want you to consider them. I know you're not doing them intentionally, but let's start to clear up the energy around these money mistakes so you can make money a lot easier, so you can keep more of your money, so you can have financial peace of mind, because that is really what I want to do for you. There's a statistic out there by Gallup. I talk about this statistic quite a bit because it's concerning and it's important to the work that I do. There's this research done by Gallup on women small business owners, and 60% of women small business owners experience daily worry. And I think the number is like 45% experience daily stress. And the two things that were really important about this study that Gallup did was, one, this is disproportionate to our male counterparts. And two, they started to really speculate that this worry and stress was related to money, which also makes a lot of sense when you look at some of the other statistics around whether it be small business owners or women small business owners specifically. Things like 83% of small business owners are living paycheck to paycheck. That is the whole point of Mike Michalowicz's mission behind Profit First, is that we eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. And there is another study, another more research done by American Express. They put out each year, they put out a State of Women's Business Owners report. And in 2018, they had a number in there, and some of you might have heard this number before, you might have heard me talking about it, that 88% of women small business owners are making less than $100,000 a year in revenue. Right? So out of that $100,000 in revenue, you have to pay yourself, you have to pay your taxes, you have to have money so that you can pay vendors or contractors or employees, the expenses in your business that keep your business running and allow it to grow, right? And allow it to grow. So that's really where this conversation is coming from. That's the seed of all my work, but also this conversation and pointing out these mistakes. So all the topics that I mentioned previously around money goals, knowing your numbers, budgeting, talking to your partner, we're going to cover all those this month in September in the next few episodes. But also I want to celebrate because the week this episode airs, I don't know where my moms are or my parents are, but the week this episode airs, my children return to school. After 18 months of completely disrupted learning, they returned to school full time. And I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but the absolute sigh of relief that I have to have some amount of normalcy back in this schedule. I want to acknowledge all the parents out there who have been running businesses during some of the most uncertain and unknown times and really leading in your home and developing resilient children through this. It's just been, I don't know how to even have words. I just keep sighing, right? The weight that has been on us has been so incredibly heavy. And even when we have tried to rest, I know for me, rest hasn't come easily. And so we've been running from a depleted state. And for some of us, this could have been either more stressful or less stressful. And honestly, some of that has to do with how we navigate our money, right? Did you have reserves in place where you could step back from work and not have to push forward during certain times? Do you have the systems and procedures and the financial ability to take a month off and not do forward-facing work, right? Because these things are so important to us as small business owners. Now, if you are a service provider who wants to level up your skills so you can run a simple, straightforward, service-based business that allows you to pay yourself six figures, focus on creating wealth for yourself and your family, grow your business with ease, then I want you to listen carefully to these episodes because we are going to be focusing on profit first and strategic planning in our Q4 curriculum within the Bold Profit Academy. So if you're listening to these episodes and you're like, yep, I want to be with Tara, with this group of service providers in this space, getting my business to be simple and straightforward and yield the maximum amount of profit that I can yield while still growing this business with ease. This is all possible. To have that financial freedom and that personal freedom, it is possible when you do it intentionally. Then I want you to join us in the Bold Profit Academy because we start in October. You can join at any time, but Q4 curriculum starts in October and it is dedicated to planning for 2022, goal setting, and implementing profit first for better cash flow management. And if you don't know what the Bold Profit Academy is, it's a business building incubator and group coaching experience for service-based business owners who are ready to prioritize profit. Right? We're done with this revenue for revenue's sake egoic conversation and the complicated and expensive tactics that are being sold to us. And we are ready to really thrive and profit. And this program is designed specifically to help service providers streamline the way they work so they can gain back valuable time and energy, which we all need, while creating their dream income. I know how important it is for you to do your most important work in the world. I mean, that's what I'm here to do, my most important work. And that's why I talk about money. That's why I talk about sustainable business. That's why I talk about simple strategies, because that is my most important work. And we want to be paid well to do it, all while being able to spend that quality time with your family, enjoy your fur babies, find a hobby, and cultivate a life well lived, right? So that's why we teach you how to sell premium services without emotionally draining launches, stressing about ads, overwhelming social strategies, or complex funnels. So, and it all starts with having a handle on your money. So if you're ready to implement profit first, in Q4, we will have advanced strategies and money projects that you can work on to increase how much you pay yourself, plan for business growth, and set more advanced financial goals. But in order to do all of that, which is the whole point of me running this podcast today, you need to be aware of 5 mistakes I see business owners make every day. Right? And so we're going to talk about those right now. So the first mistake that I see business owners make every day is spending all of their money on marketing strategies with little ROI. So how to use social media, how to get people on a webinar, how to generate more leads, including like ad spend, right? They're spending all their money on these tactics, hoping that it'll lead to more revenue, but these leads don't always equal more revenue. Building an audience on social doesn't always equal more revenue, and more revenue doesn't equal more financial freedom. So not all revenue is created equal, because you can have revenue coming in, but if it's costing you a lot of money to make a sale because you're running high ad spend, because you are spending all your time, effort, and energy trying to get the volume of people on a webinar that you need so you can hopefully make the conversions that you have, or you're spending money on things like social sellers, but you don't know how to sell, right? You don't know how to create a sales process. You're throwing a lot of money out the door, and therefore the revenue you have is not profitable revenue. It's revenue all being spent on expenses that don't give you an ROI. As a matter of fact, it can lead to less financial freedom if you're paying for these leads and don't have a rock solid system for converting them. Or perhaps a social media strategy isn't the best way for you to make sales. I see this often. One of the most costly mistakes I see service-based business owners make is not investing in genuine sales skills. Many women avoid selling, and you can make sales without marketing. You can make sales without marketing. If you want to make lots and lots and heavy volume of sales, you need marketing. There's going to come a point where your natural sales are going to slow down and you're going to want to put some marketing behind it. But I, for a long time, was able to make sales without marketing. I have friends who run $1 million businesses who don't really market. I have clients who have multi-million-dollar businesses who don't have social accounts or websites or any of those things, right? There are a lot easier ways to make sales than to be caught up in the trendy fad machine that social media is cranking out for you. Many women avoid selling, and marketing seems more fun and easier because it makes them nervous or uncomfortable. So they either A, use strategies like click to buy, which is very passive. I'm just going to send an email and somebody's just going to click to buy. And then they send an email and they're like, why isn't anybody clicking and buying, right? Or B, they leave it to luck and charm that people buy your personality. They're an early adopter. They just love who you are and they just buy from you because you're you. And then this C, this third one that I've already mentioned, is they try to outsource to social sellers or have a team member do it, which is hard to expect someone else to do something that you don't want to do, that you're not 100% sure how to do, and you don't feel comfortable doing. This will cause you to overspend on team and strategies that do not deliver results. So mistake number one, prioritizing spending money to avoid selling. Are you spending money to avoid selling? Are you spending money on marketing strategies with little ROI? Right? I've done this, by the way. I did not love selling when I started my business. I have worked very diligently to retrain myself to sell in a way that I absolutely love. And I'm telling you, if it's possible for me, I was super resistant for a lot of reasons. It is possible for you to design a sales process that is a fit for your personality, for your values, for your energy, and for excitement and fun and enthusiasm. Because if we're not excited and if we're not enthusiastic and it's not going to be fun, guess what? It is not going to happen. All right. So the second mistake, not establishing financial goals that align with personal goals. Big mistake. All right. This is the entire point of one, achieving financial freedom and personal freedom. Two, this is the entire point of Profit First. Three, this is the entire point of my revenue goal calculator. So if you have not downloaded my revenue goal calculator, I want you to do that. And you can access that by going to my website, theboldleadershiprevolution.com/revenue. It is a game changer. There is a 15-minute video on how to use it. I also am very accessible when you download it. I often send a video just saying, hey, it's Tara. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm here. I want to support you in this. All right, so not establishing financial goals that align with personal goals. Most small business owners, especially women, start businesses for financial freedom and personal freedom. For me, I hated that every meeting at my corporate job started at 3 p.m., which coincided with my kids getting off the bus. And while I had a babysitter, inevitably something would happen that required my attention, or this is when the teachers like to call home at that 3 p.m. hour because it's right after their day. And not every day, maybe, and maybe not even every week, but when it did happen, I would get the call, I'd have to take the call, and all the men in the meeting would just stare at me while I excused myself from the conference room to take the call from home. And 6 years ago, when I left my corporate job, all I wanted to do was be able to be there for my kids when they got off the bus from school and go to Trader Joe's in the middle of the day on Monday, right? Like that was the height, the pinnacle of what my small business could do for me. And by the way, it's totally overrated to go to Trader Joe's on a Monday in the middle of the day. I don't actually do that, but you get the gist. And we all have that thing. As a matter of fact, if you're relating to this and you're like, yes, I just wanted to do that thing. I'd love to hear what that thing was. What is the equivalent of your going to Trader Joe's on a Monday? And you can share that with me over on Instagram. I'm at the Tara Newman. And initially, I had a hard time setting financial goals for so many reasons, including fear of disappointment. This comes up a lot for women. Not even the disappointment, but the fear of it, right? Like I wouldn't even allow myself to experience disappointment because I had a fear of what that felt like. And then I found myself getting sucked into other people's goals. Like, what were all these business influencers, which it still amazes me that we have business influencers because I don't understand that whole concept. But I found myself getting sucked into other people's goals and then overworking to achieve them, but two, applying strategies that weren't relevant to where I was because I was trying to get to this really far off goal. And it was actually holding me back and making things harder for me to just achieve the next step. So when my business was at 250,000, the next appropriate goal was not 1 million. Certainly, if that didn't align with my personal goals, it became a distraction and it became a waste of money. It became a waste of my time because what I needed to hit my next revenue milestone was different than what I would need to hit that $1 million mark. Being distracted took me further and further away from my values, from my strengths, from my personality, but most importantly, those personal goals for why I actually started the business in the first place, right? My personal goals of spending the most time with my kids before they're grown and flown, taking care of my health, prioritizing my marriage. Life got better and more fulfilling when I was radically intentional about my personal goals and then allowed my financial goals to fuel that. So what are the personal goals? What is that going to cost you? And then how do I set a financial business goal to meet that? So we're basically working and we're applying strategies that are efficient in getting us to a specific goal. I really want you to hear that, right? And I really want you to go and download that revenue goal calculator. I should be charging for it. I could probably charge a lot of money. I mean, I see everybody charging $27 for these like little shits to jump on their email lists. And I could really be charging a significant amount of money for this. And I'm not, because it is so important to me that you at least be open to looking at the calculator, or at least watching the 15-minute training that is associated with the calculator and getting started, right? Okay, mistake number 3. You don't think you're ready for a cash flow system. You think it's too soon in your business. And I hear this all the time about being too soon in your business or not having the time right now because you're focused on other business activities like bringing in money, or you're not bringing in enough money, or you're not paying yourself yet. But how the fuck do you know how much you need to bring in, pardon my French, if you don't have a clear revenue goal that associates with your personal goals? You're literally just spinning yourself around in circles. And how do you know how much money you have to invest in growing this business? I get that we're in the online space and it's like, low barrier to entry, but you do need to put some money into the right things to amplify and accelerate and activate the business to bring in the cash to pay you. How do you know how much you need to pay yourself if you don't know what your personal goals are, right? This is the whole point of the revenue goal calculator. It is not too soon to start. It is not too soon for a cash flow system. I've worked with startups while they were still in ideation phase, because how do they know how many customers they need? How much will they have for growth capital? Where are they going to spend it? How to set a revenue target and price points for their services. And as a matter of fact, John and I, my husband and I, are currently in the pre-startup phase for a new business idea that we have. And the very first thing, he's like, we need to go on this idea. This is the thing. I want to do this. I'm ready. And I'm like, okay, we need to sit down with the revenue goal calculator and determine cash flow. And we need to determine how much money we want to be bringing in now, how much we want to be bringing in at this point. At this point, where is that money going to go? The revenue goal calculator and a cash flow system gives you a purpose for your money. And I know that when we talk about systems, it sounds very masculine and systemy, but it's actually very feminine and very woo, for lack of a better word, because we're giving our money purpose, and money loves purpose. Money loves to flow. Money is energy. It loves to just have a job and to go do the job. And we can automate it when we have a cash flow system that this money is just out there doing its job without you having to think about it. So before John and I have even done anything with this business idea, we're looking at a cash flow and the revenue goal and the purpose that this money is going to serve in our life, right? So it's never too early to get started with this. Okay, the fourth mistake that I see people making, and we are going to talk about this a lot because I have not been talking about this enough. And the reason why I have not been talking about this enough is because it's really hard to operate a business. I'm speaking for myself, to operate a business in the online space and be like me and have a personality like me. And when I say personality like me, I'm a basic bitch. I said that to somebody the other day. They're like, what's your secret sauce? And I'm like, I'm a basic bitch. I'm back to the basics, fundamentals, simple, straightforward, no bells and whistles, how to run a business, right? And it's not flashy. It's not even, I don't know. I mean, I think this is exciting. I think the wealth that I'm creating just makes my skin tingle, right? And living the life, the very simple life that I live is really exciting to me. Having the time and the space for my mental health, my emotional health, my physical health. Oh my God, all the health for me, right, is an exquisite life, but it's not Instagrammable. And so this mistake that I'm seeing people make and that I'm not talking about it because it's kind of boring. And it's the antithesis maybe of what some other people are getting a lot of exposure for talking about. But the mistake that people are making is they're living way beyond their means personally. This is for sure the number one mistake business owners make, whether they're online or not online. I've seen this for years and years and years, whether it's with friends of my dad who run businesses or businesses that John and I have worked in over the years or online businesses or whatever. But this is for sure a top mistake, and it keeps businesses in feast or famine because your business revenue feeds your personal revenue. And if you have cash flying out the door indiscriminately and unintentionally in your personal life because you are still working from a paradigm where more stuff makes you more worthy or more stuff makes you better, or I think Dave Ramsey calls this stuffitis, and I actually most of my financial principles are in opposition to Dave Ramsey, but this stuffitis I get, right? My husband and I have personally made this mistake and then quickly readjusted during our first business. Because the more money you have going out from your personal expenses, the heavier the burden is on the business to fulfill the owner's salary demands. And then you start making really poor decisions because your back is up against the wall where you have to make a huge mortgage payment because you've bought a house that's too big, or a too big car payment, or the vacation that you think you should be having or what you're entitled to or any of those things. And if you're not careful, you will leave your business strapped for the needed growth money just so you can mindlessly even shop the Target aisle, right? We've all been guilty of that. So lots of people are attracted to small business ownership because it's portrayed as the path to fabulous riches and fame and Lambos and trips to exotic places and piles of cash. And that's not typically the norm. When I talked about this in the beginning, I said 83% of business owners are living paycheck to paycheck, especially the ones with the Lambos. Like, why do you think they're living paycheck to paycheck? Because they are outspending in all places what they're bringing in. And growing up, my dad owned his own business. We lived in an affluent neighborhood, but I was not the most affluent. We were not the most affluent in the neighborhood. I went to school with a girl whose mom would take her every day to buy a new outfit, so she never had to wear the same thing twice to school. I don't even know what that always baffled me, because that was not how I was living in this neighborhood. And my mom always wanted to live in the neighborhood with the larger houses. And in the 80s, that's where all the coked up stockbrokers lived, and the doctors and the lawyers. And they were huge, huge, huge houses. I mean, I would have loved to live in a house like that. It would have been very exciting to have all that space. But it was a huge source of contention between my parents because my dad refused. And he stayed put because I'll never forget some of these arguments that they would have. He stayed put because as a small business owner, he knew that no matter what happened, he could always afford the home that he was currently living in. And that was his like rock bottom. Like if he had if he couldn't afford that house, that was going to be rock bottom for him. And when we have the responsibility of business ownership, it is really good to have our non-negotiables and have our rock bottoms, but we don't know what they are if we don't know what our numbers are, if we don't know what it is that we truly need in our personal lives, and if we are overspending. My husband used to work in a manufacturing company. He was the operations guy for a business, and every month they were short on cash because the owner's wife was racking up like $35,000 to $40,000 in Amex charges. And he moved from a house that he could afford to a house that was in a multi-million-dollar neighborhood. And all of his children had to drive a Mercedes. And it was such a drain on the business. And in that case, what was happening was he was putting in jeopardy the 20 to 40 other families who worked for him. Because if he didn't bring in money to keep the business going, they weren't going to be able to get paid, right? And your ability to be profitable and live comfortably within your means is, in my mind, the most responsible and kindest thing that you can do for humanity and for your ecosystem, right? It's not okay for me as a business owner to rack up debt and spend all this money lavishly and then not be able to pay my employees. That takes a toll. And so living beyond your means is definitely a big mistake. And while you might not be living beyond your means, you might not actually know what your means are because you don't know your numbers, right? And that's a conversation for you to have with yourself, with your partner. Again, Revenue Goal Calculator solves this problem. And now the fifth problem. So the last problem was like you're spending all your money. You have money and you're having a hard time holding it. But this next mistake is hoarding money. And I see a lot of women specifically hoarding their money in an account. And so this little next bit is for all you money hoarders. This is your word, not mine. You actually get on calls with me and tell me that you're a penny pincher or you're a money hoarder. I get it. I'm a recovering money hoarder myself. And when you spend some time unpacking your money story, you might gain more clarity on this. I certainly did, as the great granddaughter of refugees who have had to flee their country at the last minute and either had to come to this country as an indentured servant or have money saved up in order for them to get to safety. I understand where my money hoarding comes from. Your money hoarding probably comes from a different place, but it exists. And it's a mistake that we need to be able to talk about and work through. And I think this happens too because people associate a certain feeling of safety when they see money piling up in an account. And whether or not money truly equals safety is definitely a conversation for another time, but there is stuff around that as well. And it's easy to not see the harm in this since you aren't wasting it on frivolous things. Like this is the most acceptable form, I think, of money mistake that we can really justify, right? Well, at least I'm not spending it on nonsense. However, I'm just as concerned for your hoarding as I am for any overspending, because cash in a bank account after a certain amount is a total waste. It's a total waste. It's holding you back. It's not allowing you to achieve the financial freedom, the financial peace of mind, and the personal freedom that you want. You're most likely not investing in yourself as a business owner. You're not paying yourself enough. You're not using your cash to A, get some support in your business, and B, invest it for growth. Your money is not working for you at all if it is sitting in a bank account collecting next to 0% interest, right? And the same goes for those of you who are potentially over saving for your taxes. You're keeping too much money aside and not using it to either pay yourself or to run your business. And this is equally as detrimental as overspending. So all of these mistakes can be easily and lovingly addressed within our 4th quarter curriculum in the Bold Profit Academy. If you are currently a subscriber of mine on my email list, and for whatever reason you don't have the revenue goal calculator, just hit reply and let me know and I can get that to you. If you are not currently an email subscriber of mine, you can sign up for the revenue goal calculator at the Bold Leadership Revolution /revenue. And that will take you to the calculator, which is the best starting point for resolving some of these issues. If you're like, Tara, I don't set goals. I don't like, this sounds too structured for me. Having a system for my money is going to inhibit my manifesting. It's going to block my flow or whatever. Don't apply, right? The whole purpose of this is to prove to you that that's actually not true. That if you're open to setting a goal, if you're open, even if it's uncomfortable, if you're open to looking at your numbers, even if it's uncomfortable, if you're open to having these conversations, even if they feel scary, maybe a little exciting, but sometimes very scary, nervous, this is the place for you. I'm here for bold leaders. I'm here for women who are ready for more money, more freedom, and more growth. So if you're ready to join the Bold Profit Academy, here's how it works. Upon joining us, go to the webpage. You can either book a call with me to ask your questions, or you can hit reply, ask me questions in my email, or you can just join us. It's there. You have options for whatever you need. When you join us, we celebrate you in making a clear decision, right? And you're going to complete an intake assessment, and I'm going to customize your personal, it's going to give you a personal 90-day growth plan so that when you get into that program, we prioritize momentum. You have clear things that you can focus on to reduce any kind of overwhelm. You can take a spin through our Getting Started curriculum where you immediately learn how to prioritize your time for maximum impact. We have co-working calls where you come and you implement the things that you are learning. Everything in this curriculum is action-oriented and implementation-focused because it's about getting it done in your business. It's not about the mental masturbation that comes with learning and not being able to take action. This is an action-oriented place. And then twice a month, you have coaching calls with me. You get access to me. I answer questions in the group, right? This is really all about you being supported and taking these next steps in your business. So I absolutely hope you are ready to join us. If you found this podcast valuable, help us develop more bold leaders in the world by sharing this episode with your friends, colleagues, and other bold leaders. Also, if you haven't done so already, please leave a review. I consider reviews like podcast currency, and it's the one thing you can do to help us out here at the Bold Leadership Revolution HQ. We would be so grateful for it. Special thanks goes to Stacey Harris from Uncommonly More, who is the producer and editor of this podcast. Go check them out for all your digital marketing and content creation needs. Be sure to tune into the next episode to help you embrace your ambition and leave the grind behind.